Hi, I'm Erin. Welcome to Storytime. Today we're reading episode 16 of Cut by me and Tid Ellington. If you haven't already seen episode 15, please click the link right here. Travis washed his hands slowly, staring at himself in the men's room mirror. His straw blonde hair needed cutting. Monica usually told him when he needed a haircut. She even cut it for him. He'd shaved, but he'd let his beard get too thick beforehand. The skin of his neck and jaw was red and irritated, and he had dark circles under his eyes. These small changes conspired to make him look like a different man, someone older and more careworn than himself. A sudden stab of pain gripped his heart, and he felt a tight squeezing in his chest. He looked like an old man ready for the grave, he thought grimly as he straightened his name tag. As he stepped back onto the sales floor, he looked around. His eyes scanned the rows of office supplies for signs of human life. He saw only his co-worker Leon, dressed in the familiar khakis and light blue polo shirt with the red company vest on top. No last-minute customers, Travis asked. Leon shook his head. He was in his 50s. His salt and pepper hair was cut close to his head. With his big, broad frame, he looked like a retired army officer. You disappointed, Sullivan? Yeah, Travis said. I guess I am. Thought I had a couple more sales left in me tonight. There was a jangle of keys. From somewhere behind them, Elizabeth, the store's evening manager, appeared. Travis mentally slapped himself for noticing her long legs and the way her short brown hair framed her face. I'm locking the front door, guys, she said. Huh, Leon said. Time flies when you're having fun. Before Elizabeth could lock the door, though, it swung open. A uniformed police officer stepped in. Travis smiled. Darius. Darius nodded to Elizabeth and Leon. Excuse me, he said. I'm Travis's brother-in-law. I just thought I'd look in on him while I was on this side of town. You hungry, Sullivan? It suddenly occurred to Travis he hadn't eaten anything since that bag of stale Halloween candy. Yeah, he said. Starving. I'm on my lunch break. I'm getting a burger at that place on the corner, Darius said. I'll keep you company. In the 4 years Travis and Monica had been together, Travis had never known Monica's sister's husband to pay him a social visit, but he felt too hungry to question Darius's motives. Travis thought of the fridge at home. He couldn't go home to candy corn and peas. Yeah, said Travis, unbuttoning his vest. I'll meet you there in a little while. When he got to the coffee shop, Darius was sitting at the counter. The place was otherwise empty except for one table of giggling female college students and their lone guy friend. The guy was making wild gestures, flailing both arms as he told a story the women found hilarious. One of the ladies laughed so hard she dropped her basket of French fries on the floor. Travis sat down next to Darius. Darius opened his mouth to speak, but the waitress behind the counter cut him off. Get you something to drink, she said to Travis, in between loud chomps on her gum. Coffee, please, said Travis. She nodded. Darius's eyes followed her as she walked away. She's a sweet little thing, Darius said. That tiny little ass looks so cute in those low-waisted jeans, but she doesn't know her own head from a hole in the ground. I'll bet you the cost of my burger that she comes back with the decaf pot. Travis extended his hand, and Darius shook it. You're on. Darius took a sip of his own coffee. How's your wife? Travis looked up from the menu. About as good as can be expected, I guess. Darius nodded. Then he pointed to a booth in the corner of the cafe, partially hidden from them by the table of college girls with the spilled fries. A man sat there alone. Look at him, Darius said quietly. He was young, with medium brown skin and curly black hair. He wore a grimy gray t-shirt, seemingly oblivious to the restaurant's chilly temperature. He's holding a cigarette lighter, but he doesn't have any cigarettes. He just keeps flicking that lighter over and over like he's obsessed. Yeah, Travis said, I guess he does. He glanced briefly at the kid, looking away before the kid looked up. He's psycho, Darius said, giving me the creeps, making my adrenaline rise, reminding me of that punk who shot my partner. Darius shot a malignant glance at the corner booth. Jesus, Travis said, your partner got shot? Darius stared at Travis. I never told you that before, man? No, Travis said. You never tell me cop stories. Did your partner... is he all right? He lived, Darius said, but his arm got fucked up. He couldn't shoot anymore and he had to retire. Jesus, Travis repeated. I'm sorry. Darius shrugged. Shit happens, but life goes on. Listen, don't get too creative with that menu there. This night cook doesn't know what the hell he's doing. I'd stick with the chicken or a burger. The waitress reappeared, clutching the coffee pot with the orange handle. Oh, Starla, Darius said with exaggerated disappointment. I think he wanted regular coffee, sweetie. He smiled. Travis was finding out all kinds of things about Darius tonight. Starla stared at the coffee pot, dumbfounded. I thought this was the regular, she said. She froze in her tracks. Travis stared at the pendant that sat on top of her white t-shirt, drawing attention to her breasts. It never crossed his mind that it was a pentagram. Darius shook his head. The orange one is decaf. The brown one is regular. Starla, some night some old guy with a heart problem is going to come in here and ask for decaf, and you're going to give him caffeine and kill him. Then I'm going to have to come and arrest you. His tone was mocking, but Starla didn't seem to catch it. Then that old man had better fucking pay attention, she said smartly. She seemed about to go when Darius laid a big hand across Starla's thin arm. Take extra good care of my friend, please, he said. He's sad. He's just had a family tragedy. Starla nodded slowly, looking Travis up and down as if trying to notice the sadness. Then she scurried off, disappearing behind the swinging metal doors of the kitchen. You owe me a burger, Darius said. Travis blinked. Why did you tell her I was sad? But from the look in Darius's deep-set dark brown eyes, Travis could see the answer. Travis felt used, but let it pass. Starla reemerged with a regular coffee pot and a piece of pecan pie. She poured Travis's coffee and refilled Darius's. She set the pie down in front of Travis. On the house, she said quietly, leaning across the counter to speak close to his ear. Thanks, he said, stirring sugar into his coffee. Oh, and I'll have a double bacon cheeseburger. She frowned. We're out of bacon. That's okay, he said. She gave him a chagrined sort of half-smile. Just the double cheeseburger, then. Starla, Darius said, his eyes lighting up devilishly. I'd like a piece of your pie. It's not my pie, she said. His meaning was lost on her. Athena, the little old Greek lady who works here during the day, makes all the pastries. Do either of you want that with ice cream on top? Travis shook his head. Darius nodded, but added, Starla, when you work in a restaurant, it's not called pie with ice cream on top. It's called pie a la mode. Try saying it one time. Alamo, she pronounced. There's a good girl, Darius said, grinning. The next time you ask a customer if he wants some dessert, you ask him if he wants pie Alamo. Starla nodded and went off to deliver Travis's order. The college girls and their guy friend got up and left. Travis had a clear view of that kid with the lighter in the corner booth. Beside him, the bottom corner of the curtains was dripping wet, yet black and curled as if it had recently been charred and then doused with ice water. It occurred to Travis that it hadn't been like that before. Travis was about to say something to Darius when Darius's police radio crackled to life. Hell, he said, I've got to go, Sullivan. He pulled out his wallet and left some bills on the counter. Forget about the bet. It's on me this time. Thanks, Travis said. Darius left. Travis watched his squad car's red and blue lights dance off the walls of the cafe. With his stomach full and Darius gone, Travis wandered out into the parking lot. He looked down at his watch. It was after 1. Monica had surely cried herself to sleep by now. If she hadn't, she'd be curled up on the couch in the living room, watching something mindless on late-night TV, but not even really watching it. She wouldn't ask him why he'd been late or where he'd been. A knot of helplessness and worry formed in Travis's stomach as he thought about going home. A strange yet familiar scent reached his nose, coming from a powder-blue Ford pickup parked on the side of the coffee shop away from the road. He saw the backs of 2 heads. The one in the driver's seat was obviously Starla's. She'd taken off the green baseball cap that she was required to wear at work, and her red-brown ponytail swayed as she moved her head. The other head was male. It was the kid from the corner booth. There was space between them. They were talking and passing something back and forth. Travis hadn't smoked pot since high school, but its smell uncovered a longing hidden inside of him. To be high, to be happy, and to forget. Summoning all of his courage, he went over and tapped on the window. Starla turned around, her eyes wide, her mouth slack. Hey, he said, I don't want to get you in trouble or anything. I just want to know if you'd share." She looked at him suspiciously. The young man didn't seem to notice him at all. He was drumming on the dashboard with one closed fist, keeping time with the song on the radio, too low to hear anything but the percussion. His black hair was slicked with gel and combed straight down over his eyes, hiding him from the world. His brown skin was uneven, reminding Travis of a well-handled penny. As he turned to face Starla, Travis noticed that his stained gray t-shirt read Suicide. Travis hoped it was the name of a band. "Who are you?" the young man asked. "My name's Travis," he said. "I work at the office supply store. I was in the cafe. I ate a cheeseburger." "He was with a cop," Starla tattled. She crossed her hands across the steering wheel, a gesture that pushed her breasts up and together. She was trying to look defensive, but she looked sexy instead. "He's my brother-in-law. We hardly even talk to each other. Please, I'm sad and I'm scared, and I don't want to go home yet," he pleaded. "I'd really like to share a few hits off that joint with you. Please?" "Do it," the young man told Starla. She shrugged and scooted over, letting Travis into the driver's seat. Travis wasn't sure how much time passed as he sat in the truck, getting high, wedged between the driver's side door and a 20-year-old waitress who wore too much mascara. She nudged him. "Let me out," she insisted. "Where are you going?" the young man asked her. She looked at her watch. "My cigarette break's over," she said. Pointing to Travis, she said, "Can you hang out for a minute?" Travis nodded. He let her out of the truck and got back in. "My name's Leander, by the way," the young man said. Travis nodded. Leander took the lighter out of his pocket and began to flick it absent-mindedly. "Do you work here?" Travis asked. Leander shook his head. "I work lots of places," he said. "Starla's boss, the old Greek guy, lets me eat here if I do some odd jobs for him. I guess I'm a handyman of sorts." "A gypsy and a junkie," Travis added, looking over the dark patterns of track marks up and down Leander's arm. "And a burner of restaurant drapes." Leander's brightly shining dark eyes narrowed, reminding Travis of stars on a moonless night. "Do you want something?" he said. Travis nodded slowly. "I want to know if you can get me some more of this shit we're smoking." Leander nodded, not taking his eyes off Travis. "Yeah, I can hook you up." Travis leaned back in the seat. A warm feeling of contentment washed over him. It wasn't broken until Starla's white fingers tapped on the window. Travis sat up and pushed the door open. She set 2 takeout boxes on his lap. "Pie," he said. "One for you, one for your wife." "Thanks," Travis said. Monica was awake when he came home. He handed her the pie and the joint Leander had slipped into Travis's pocket when they said goodnight. Monica had started smoking cigarettes again since coming home from the hospital. She quickly pulled out her pink disposable lighter, lit the joint, and took a hit. She ate the pie and slept more soundly than she had in weeks. Chapter 24, January 2000. Edward sat in the courtyard smoking a cigarette on the sunny, cold January day. 2 inches of snow covered everything, so he had to brush the snow off with his bare hands before sitting down on one of the benches. He'd left his gloves at the cafe. He left the coming Sunday's sermon there, too. He hadn't even had time to think before he ran out. The glass door leading back into the hospital from the courtyard swung open. Exhaling a cloud of white breath, a woman stepped through. She was a large woman, tall and wide, with thick arms and legs. She wore a black parka lined with fox fur and black gloves. Her hood was down. Her black and silver hair hung in tens of neat braids with white and blue beads on the ends. They matched her practical running shoes, white with blue stripes. "Mr. Prescott?" she asked. "Yes." "My name is Bernice Whitmore," she said. "I'm the hospital chaplain." She took off one of her gloves and offered her hand for him to shake. He stood and shook her hand. He noticed her fingernails, metallic blue and curved with tiny diamond-like rhinestones glued to the tips. He breathed in and out slowly as he sat back down on the bench. She brushed aside some of the snow on the bench with her gloved hand. "Dr. Wang, who was working in the emergency room this morning, told me your wife came in suffering from a heart condition." "She died," Edward explained. He lit another cigarette. He offered the pack to Bernice. She took one and stuck it behind her ear. "I'm trying to quit," she said, smiling self-consciously. "You know, I've been the chaplain at this hospital for 14 years now, and this never gets any easier." He stared into a planter filled with snow and the remains of an ornamental grass that died back in autumn. This isn't easy for me either. It's never easy to lose a loved one, especially your spouse. He looked at her suddenly. How long are you going to sit here and mumble pious bullshit at me? Not long, she replied, rising from the bench. It's too damn cold out here, and you're not the only person at this hospital who's in pain. She turned and started toward the door. I'm not in pain anymore, he called after her. She was dead to me a long time ago. Bernice stopped. He watched her pull the cigarette from behind her ear. You got a light, she said, walking back toward him. He pulled out his lighter and lit her cigarette. She coughed slightly and said, Sounds like you've got a lot on your mind, honey. Better come with me to my office. He laughed slightly. I used to have a rule about that. I made sure I was never alone in a room with a woman who wasn't my wife. He tried to smile, but a deep pain showed on his face. Despite his words, he was more hurt than he'd realized. Under the circumstances, she said, I think we can make an exception. He nodded and followed her into the hospital. This has been episode 16 of Cut by Erin O'Riordan and Ted Ellington. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. Give us a thumbs up and let us know in the comments how you're liking the story so far. When episode 17 is ready, you'll be able to click on the link right here. Thanks, and have a great day.